Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I am Melanie Carstens, and this is Bitcoin and Beyond. Today, I am going to be talking to Nick Darlington. Nick is the founder of Bitcoin Friendly South Africa, and he's coming to you, same as me, live from Cape Town. Welcome, Nick. So good to have you here.
Cool. Thanks so much for having me. I love the intro.
Getting you in the vibe.
Yeah, it's cool. I like it. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. So Nick and I have had a couple of chats offline. We are both talking at Adopting Bitcoin Cape Town next week it's Friday and Saturday next week. So shout out to Adopting Bitcoin Cape Town. If you are in Cape Town, head over to their website. The link is not in my bio, but it's on my Twitter feed. And come check us out there. I think it's going to be very exciting. So yeah, Nick and I are going to be there next weekend. And in a lead up to that, we are going to be talking about what Bitcoin Friendly South Africa is and what Bitcoin looks like day to day in South Africa. So let's talk about that. Let's just kick it off with Bitcoin and what it looks like on the ground in South Africa today.
What it looks like on the ground, not many people spending Bitcoin on the ground. I'd say that for the most part. Like, I think when you in the space and you're spending it and you get consumed with it, you're like, oh, it's amazing, whatever. But the fact is, it's still quite early in. So, I mean, you look at the numbers from Pick and Pay. I think they actually had a quick look before I came on the show just to check. I think they reported like 1.4 million Rand monthly spend for Bitcoin. And that includes everything from airtime to fuel. So I'd say it's definitely growing. And so that's the growth from previous years. But I don't know. I think there's still lots that can be done in terms of actually growing the spending. And I think there's a million reasons why people aren't spending Bitcoin. I think you can have a whole conversation around that. I think one of the big ones is the sort of digital gold narrative that, lots of people are like, well, why would I spend it if I can hold it? It's digital gold, right? Mm-hmm. Then you have tax implications. Technically by law, you need to declare each transaction when you spend. But that logic to me doesn't make sense. Like, I understand the law and I understand you need to declare it, income tax and capital gains tax when you're spending Bitcoin individually. But if people are using it as money, then it's not really a taxable asset in that sense. In the same way the Rand isn't. You don't have to declare your Rand. Anyway, that's a whole other conversation. But these are the few of the things I think that are holding people back from spending Bitcoin in South Africa. And also the fact that it's just a new technology. So, I say it's new. It's been around for like 15 years. It's 2009 or 17 years now, I think. But it's new in terms of like, I guess, the monetary system, because it is money, right? So, yeah. It's an interesting one. It's happening, but it's definitely not as at the scale, the actual spending. Like, you can spend at hundreds of thousands of locations, right? But the actual spending numbers don't match like the volume that's available, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. I mean, South Africa, I think, is there are a couple of unique places in the world, but I think South Africa is quite unique in the diversity of kind of the spread of wealth and how, the kind of the LSMs, where you've got people sort of at the low end, people who are unbanked, people who don't carry any debt, right through to people who obviously there's wealth and they can hold Bitcoin and store Bitcoin as a vault. So I think what I think is interesting about South Africa is the many different ways or the many different kinds of economies inside Bitcoin. You know what I mean? It's very necessary as a spending tool in some parts of South Africa, right? In poorer places. So there, don't you think there's like a huge kind of comparatively
yeah, I'm looking at it from the sort of like, when comparing it against like a fiat monetary system, the Rand, like it's small. But there are economies. I mean, look, there's all the circular economies. Bitcoin
that's booming in. I mean, I know it's booming in Cape Town, right?
Yeah. Look, there's definitely little areas, pockets. And I think in some communities, it's actually, the circular economies are great because they're actually spending and using Bitcoin. Like at the moment, as great as it is the infrastructure that's in place, like the QR codes and stuff, have actually positioned South Africa in a way that its Bitcoin payments lend itself quite well to it. But the thing is, lots of merchants aren't technically accepting Bitcoin, right? They're accepting Bitcoin, like you can pay with Bitcoin, but the transactions clear in rands. But I guess you got to start somewhere, right? But that's why the circular economy is a quite interesting one, obviously, because at merchants, you're actually using your Bitcoin and they're receiving it directly. There's no rand clearance there.
So yeah, let's talk about two things that you spoke about. I mean, you spoke about Pick and Pay. So that's a very interesting, because that was our first real kind of huge retail opportunity for people to spend their Bitcoin, right? So, and that's quite cutting edge, I think, isn't it? So I want to talk a little bit about that. And then I want to go back to the circular economies, because I think that's super interesting as well. So let's take, I mean, anybody who's, outside of South Africa or even in South Africa, but don't really know, because it's not like they've got big signs, at the till saying Bitcoin accepted here. It's almost like it's kind of going word of mouth around, like, oh, okay, you can.
Yeah, Pick and Pay had some signs for a while, but they were kind of focusing more on general cryptocurrency. Like they had these signs where they showed you what you could pay in. But yeah, you're right. Most people aren't like saying, cool, Bitcoin accepted here, unless you're the niche few, like Thunder Brothers and Bree Street, or they have a Bitcoin accepted sign,
Okay. But yeah, let's also talk about that. So there's a lot going on in South Africa when it comes to opportunities to spend Bitcoin. You were saying little places, niche places in Cape Town. So from Pick and Pay, niche places, and then to these little circular economies that are happening. Bitcoin Akazi, I think there's Bitshunt as well. So there's a couple of them that I've seen. Okay, so Pick and Pay, that's a huge big retail store. And they have got, let's just talk about how that happens, because it's interesting. It goes, so from...
Well, it started as a pilot, from what I understand, Money Badger. So back then it was known as Crypto QR, the tech. And then Crypto QR they basically, Pick and Pay was one of the first retailers in Africa, I think the first, to actually accept Bitcoin as payment. It started off as Crypto QR and then became Money Badger. But that effectively, how the technology works is, so lots of the QR codes, like the Zapper codes, the Pick and Pay codes, the bootlegger codes, these are all places that accept Bitcoin. They are just regular QR codes. There's different formats, but let's call them regular QR codes, South African QR codes. And so the Money Badger tech basically just converts those QR codes into a format that a Bitcoin wallet can read. And so it's just a bridge between the two. So it's like bringing traditional payment rails to like the Bitcoin ecosystem. And I think it's a great way to pay through the back door. So that's why you can technically pay merchants without them knowing, right? You can just go scan a QR code without even saying that you're paying with Bitcoin.
And that converts it back to rands. Is that what happens?
Yeah, so if the merchant is choosing to settle in rand, so some merchants may choose to settle in Bitcoin, but I don't really know of any. Well, I know of some, but what I mean is like the big retailers like Pick and Pay, from what I understand, they're not settling. I may be wrong. I can't speak to that exactly, but you have the choice of settling in rands or Bitcoin.
Okay. And then you say as well, I mean, you've mentioned it, and we'll talk about what Bitcoin friendly South Africa is just now, but I just kind of want to get a global picture of what's going on and how people are spending it. And so the big retailers, and then we've got these smaller niche.
So basically you've got, like, the way I see it is there's two types in South Africa anyways. There's Bitcoin to Bitcoin. So a store will, so basically the way everyday payments work, I don't want to get too technical, but for it to be successful, for Bitcoin payments to be successful, it needs to be over the Lightning Network, because on-chain payments are too slow. So Lightning Network is just another layer on Bitcoin that makes it possible. So I think of Bitcoin as your vault, where you store your Bitcoin like a vault, and then Bitcoin Lightning, which is Bitcoin, it's just like your purse or your wallet. So it's just another layer. Right. And so that makes it possible. So essentially some stores are accepting it directly. They'll show you a Bitcoin Lightning invoice, so regular Bitcoin invoice, and you pay directly like that. Other stores are doing it via the integration between Zapper and MoneyBack. So any Zapper store, like I can go and I can be a business now and be like, cool, I want to accept Bitcoin. What's the quickest way? Well, I can do it directly myself, just get a Blink wallet, show it at the point of sale, or I can work, if I have a Zapper, I can just work through them. So I set up Zapper and anyone can pay at my store with Bitcoin. So through the money badger technology.
And then what is a circular economy? Let's talk about what that is. Because I mean, I think that is...
Okay, look, circular economies, yeah, I'm not, I wouldn't call myself an expert on it. My understanding of a circular economy is that it's an economy in the same way everyone's spending rands. A circular economy is everyone there is just spending Bitcoin. So someone will earn their wages in Bitcoin. They'll then go spend their Bitcoin. So it's circulating in the economy. There's no like, I'm not going there with my Bitcoin and the merchants receiving rands. It's literally Bitcoin. Everything feeds on itself. Yeah. That's at least my understanding. All the people who run circular economies, if I'm wrong, yeah, that's my high level understanding. I'm not, I haven't dived deeply into the circular economies yet. That's something I still want to, but that's what I understand by it.
Yeah. And those work, like I said, I mean, Bitcoin Akazi, there's one in Withunt. I think those are incredible opportunities for people who traditionally have to accept cash because they don't have a bank account. I mean, that is like a huge sort of
100%.
fruition of Bitcoin's role. You know, that is like what it was, one of the things it was really built for, you know.
Oh, so like banking the unbanked. But I think, geez, a big thing for me is the idea of like money and what is money and why Bitcoin is good money. And it's easy when you have these conversations to come across as preachy, but that was like a switch for me, is when we think of the money that we spend, the rands, right? What is it? It's a piece of paper, cool. The government prints loads of it. How valuable is that money? Not really that valuable because, you know, they can just keep printing it. We get inflation each year. The value of the money decreases each year. But with Bitcoin, you have the opposite, basically. The supply is capped at 21 million. There's no one printing more. There is actually no one to do that. There's no central bank. And so in essence, what you have is a deflationary money. And so if you kept it and hold it for a while, it would increase in value quite a lot. In theory, it should. So as long as people print money, Bitcoin is... So for me, it's better money. And I think like once that like clicks in your head, it becomes hard to unsee that.
Why do you think this is so difficult for people to grasp, to go, you know, we look at people like you and me and we just like lights on. Yes, it's the way. By the way, let me just say this, please. This is not financial advice. So we are just having a conversation about Bitcoin.
I don't think it's about, look, I don't think it's about, the part of it is understanding it. Like, I think most people, once you go do a bit of reading, I think firstly, you need to get to the point where you are reading, like, what is money? But if you went to ask someone on the side of the street, what is money? I mean, if you asked me a few years ago, what would I have said? I probably would have said, I can give you rands, like it's an exchange of value, whatever.
Yeah.
Even though you may understand it, I think a big part of it is also like, not many people are doing it. And there's a barrier to actually, how do I explain this? Like it's, you can still grasp it, but still be scared of stepping in fully because you could be wrong, right?
Yeah.
So that always plays in my mind. Like,
don't you think traditional media kind of like really plays on that? You know,
100%. Like, all the articles online, but that's all they do it for clicks, right? It's. I mean, I don't know if they're doing it intentionally or unintentionally. Like, obviously, some media houses clearly have an agenda. Others are just ignorant or don't understand. But lots of those myths have kind of been debunked. Like the myths about it being unenvironmentally friendly, about it being a Ponzi scheme. Those things have clearly been debunked. And if you go do some research on it, it's obvious that it's not any of those things. But I don't know, like, people just continue with their everyday life. They have life to live. And so Bitcoin is not really a big concern for them. So I guess, everyone will have their story of how they enter it. And I don't think it's good for necessarily to preach down on people. I think that's one thing I noticed in this space is it can be quite prescriptive. And some people who are like heavily maxi, like can be quite dogmatic. And I think Bitcoin is great, but sometimes it's not always the most welcoming. And I'm not saying it's all like that. I'm not having a go at anyone. I'm just saying that's been my experience in some spheres. But for the most part, it's a good community, right? So,
you know what I think is so interesting? You've made me I was just sort of thinking as you were, or listening and thinking at the same time. you spoke about like that question, what is money? Someone came up to me in the street 8-9 years ago and said, okay, what's money? I'd be like, I don't even know. I swap it for things I want. It's like the strangest concept of that. So it's a very dumbed down thing, that we know. We go out, we work, we get it, we spend it. And if we're lucky enough, we save it. But the complexity around Bitcoin, I think, is what makes it so interesting, because it's so much more than, we can sit here already.
It's incredibly simple.
That's exactly. We can sit here and debate store of value and units of exchange. So we can first of all talk about that, and you'll find people feel very strongly about it. If you talk about money and you say it's a store of value, and first of all, it's not a store of value, not financial advice, but it's not. Yeah. But the thing is you kind of programmed into thinking, okay, well, I can save it and I can spend it. But when you talk to Bitcoiners about that, there's strong feelings about that. Some people, like you were saying just now, some people are like, okay, I'm not spending it. I don't want to spend it because it's so valuable. So it's, like you say, easy, but also very complex in what you can do.
But I guess like Bitcoin is money. It's obvious it's money, but you can't tell people how they're going to use their money, right? So if someone decides to store it because gold is technically also money, though you're not going to go with a gold bar, shave a little piece off and pay with it, though you could if you really wanted to. So I lost my train of thought there. You can't tell people how they're going to use it. So someone will decide if they want to spend it, they can spend it. If someone wants to store the value, they can store the value. But the fact is, it is money. I think for it to push adoption forward, and lots of people, if we want it to be money, and I think if we wanted to succeed and kind of meet the original thing was always for it to be peer-to-peer electronic cash, which is basically I send you money, you send me money. It's like, there's no middleman. It's just me to you. What I like to call is like chomi to chomi cash. It's like that's all it is basically. Yeah. And so you can share the money between you without a bank, and so you essentially are your own bank account. And then you can also store that money. So I think perhaps a better way to look at it is, and this is what lots of people talk about, is seeing it as a saving and spending side, just like you would any money. You save some of it, you spend some of it. And so the saving part, they're not mutually exclusive. You can spend it and save it. You don't have to do one. It's not all or nothing. You can store the value in it, and then you can be like, cool, each month I'm also going to spend. So if I earn 50,000 Rand each month, I'm going to take half of that, put it in Bitcoin for the long term, and the other half I'll spend.
Yeah.
But then, of course,
people are still scared of spending it. There's a lot of people that are like, should I, shouldn't I?
Yeah, look, there's the volatility of it. I think if you've been for the space long enough, you can absorb the volatility. So let's say you've got lots of Bitcoin, then it's not an issue. But if you're new to the space, I think that becomes less of an issue if you have a circular economy, the volatility, because then it's just Bitcoin. Yes. You're not thinking in rands. So that's the other side of it. So that's, I guess, one of the reasons why I think the circular economies are so good. But getting to the point where you have a monetary system that is, how long have we been using rands for and fiat money since the golds? Well, even before, but to change a system where everyone is so invested in it and banks don't want to change things, that's also, it takes a while. So I don't have all the answers to that. I just can see how it takes a while for things to embed. That's why these technologies like Money Badge are so cool, because they manage to integrate the two. And that's, I think, the perfect start to get to a point where, okay, cool, we integrate, there's awareness, and eventually maybe we don't have rands and we just have Bitcoin. But I guess maybe they'll coexist. So.
Now, let's sort of talk about Bitcoin Friendly SA. You started off, just a little bit of history about yourself. You started off as a writer.
Yeah, so I've been writing for about 10 years. The last few years have been a bit weird with AI, but I've been doing that for 10 years. I have a business background, and last year I just kind of, I don't know if you know, obviously Stake and Shake, right? That chain in the US that started accepting Bitcoin payments, and they kind of made their branding was all about Bitcoin. And so they saw increasing sales, a decrease in transaction costs, anyway, I was watching a YouTube video about this company in the States, and then I thought, hey, wouldn't it be cool if we had a place where you can see, where you can accept Bitcoin in South Africa? I mean, obviously, there are places, I did research, and there are some places that already do this, like we do bitcoin.co.za and Bitcoin Map, which is like a global map of all the places. But I thought, well, let's focus on South Africa and make it like hyper local, and also focus heavily on the content, because that's a big thing, like the spending part of it. Like, how do I spend my Bitcoin? Like, how do businesses, how can they accept it? Because it's quite technical. It took me like a few months to understand the space. And that was kind of my goal, was regardless of what happens with Bitcoin Friendly SA, part of my goal was just to learn about Bitcoin payments. And that I wanted to make that my focus regardless of what happens. And so, yeah, that's why I launched. So it's a directory and a content hub, but more content, right? So, because I'm a writer, that's one of my strengths, and I find it interesting. Yeah, and I've been in Bitcoin since 2017, but in the last year, it's kind of become more of I've started treating it more as money, where I store value in it and I spend it.
Yeah.
So it's been a bit of a journey starting this as a fun little thing, I guess.
And let's sort of talk about what Bitcoin Friendly SA is. You talk about writing, you talk about wanting to spread the word of, I mean, basically, yeah, just if I'm a person and I'm listening and I'm like, okay, I want to, what is Bitcoin Friendly?
It's just a resource to help South Africans spend and accept Bitcoin. So provides content, provides guides, a directory of places to spend. The way I see it is like my vision was to make it like the biz community for Bitcoin, like that sort of resource. So when you think of, okay, where can I learn about how to spend it? Where can I learn? That's where you'll go. So like guides like how to pay with Bitcoin at Scan to Pay Merchants, which is a payment provider, or how to pay at Zapper, how businesses can accept it. So that's in essence what it is, a platform to help people spend and accept it.
Is there a community? I actually meant to ask you this.
When you say community, what do you mean?
Is there like where if people want to kind of be a part of it and ask questions and share, like I guess maybe a Telegram group, if there is that, or
no, at the moment. I'm kind of part of like 7 different Bitcoin groups. I don't want to start another Bitcoin group. So yeah, I don't know. Like there's not a community. Like I just sometimes share content with people in the space, or they share it on my behalf. Well, I say on my behalf, they share it randomly because they've read it. But no, I don't have a community in that sense. But yeah, I'm part of the Bitcoin community, I guess.
And what is the sort of growth of the spending? Sort of like, let's just talk, because is your main focus in Cape Town? Or is it sort of, or do you find that, I mean, besides obviously the main things like Pick and Pay, chains that are everywhere?
Well, I'm not looking, sorry, what are you asking me?
No, I'm just interested in how much, okay, besides the big kind of stores, where in the country, is it Cape Town more your focus? And is that because there's a lot of it going on here? Or is it kind of spread all over the place? What does it look like on the ground?
Well, Cape Town is my focus because I live here. I moved here 18 months ago and I just started doing it here. I don't actually know what the exact numbers are on the ground. So, but they, like I said, they're not that, I've spoken to the guys from Money Badger, and, the actual spending values. I mean, you got Pick and Pay, like I said, reporting 1.4 million a month, and there's probably other figures at other retailers, but the spending values aren't that high at the moment. So you have this landscape of like technically 800,000 merchants across South Africa that accept Bitcoin, or where you can pay with Bitcoin.
That's a lot.
Yeah, so I mean, I buy fuel with Bitcoin at Engine. I pay with Bitcoin there. You can pay total.
This is really I did not know. I live here in Cape Town. I test spending Bitcoin, and I did not know that I could buy petrol. Tell me all the places in South Africa where I can spend my Bitcoin. Talk me through all that. Can I live off Bitcoin in Cape Town?
Yeah, 100%. You can live off Bitcoin in South Africa. You can pay Pick and Pay. So firstly, you can buy groceries. Maybe it'll be harder to pay like your mortgage and stuff like that, but general living expenses and petrol, all that. So petrol at Engine, I always fill up there. I've made a point whenever I buy fuel, it's at Engine or Total because they accept Bitcoin. I've tried to avoid BP for that reason. So merchants
also with Money Badger, the QR code. How do they do it?
Okay, so Money Badger makes it possible to pay with any Lightning wallet, right? So because you're basically scanning with Money Badger, and then it's connected to your Lightning wallet, and you complete the payment in your Lightning wallet. Some Lightning wallets have that Money Badger technology natively built into the app. So then you don't need Money Badger, although you are using Money Badger, if that makes sense.
Yes.
So
Okay.
like Blink is a very popular one in South Africa. I'd say it's probably one of the most popular. So this is what I often do when I go pay. Like I'll chat to like the petrol attendants, and I have a conversation, and then I'll say, some of them are like, what's Bitcoin? We have a conversation about it. And then I'll get to a point where I say, download this wallet, and I'll send them like $50. And then some of them are like, wow, that's amazing. Like they literally receive money on this. It's instant, right? If you have the wallet, I send it to you. It's on the spot. They can then go to Pick and Pay.
Just the dog agrees.
Just hold on. Just hold on.
Nick is looking after his girlfriend's dog while she's having a ladies' night. So the dog is not happy about being trapped. Anyway, so yeah, very interesting. If you've just tuned in, this is Bitcoin and Beyond, and I'm Melanie Carstens, and we're talking to Nick Darlington. He's the founder of BitcoinFriendlySA, and we kind of going through sort of places where you can spend your Bitcoin here in South Africa, and talking about Money Badger, which is a QR code facilitating spending of Bitcoin, or QR code technology facilitating spending of your Bitcoin. And yeah, we're just going through, I'm discovering, so this is, excuse us while I get excited, because I'm discovering all the things that I can spend. I really just honestly thought it was a few niche places and then like Pick and Pay. So I love the idea, you know what I really love? Is the idea of, which I've never thought of as well, is when you pull up to a petrol station, whatever, and you talk to the guys who say, okay, I'd rather just tip you in Bitcoin. So yes, download your wallet. That's brilliant.
The wallet takes 2 seconds to download. They can just use the Wi-Fi, download a wallet, Blink. It's literally, sometimes they ask you for your number, whatever. Then I'll just help them. I'll set it to rands, and then I explain to them, look, I'm sending you 50 rands worth of Bitcoin. Then you actually sending them Bitcoin over Lightning, obviously. And they have it there. And then you tell them, cool, you can go into Engine, you can pay there, Pick and Pay. So scan to pay merchants, I think there's like 700,000. If you go onto their website and look, those are all merchants where you can pay. Even parking tickets. If you're in the mall, you can scan the parking tickets but then you'll need Money Badger for that. Then also Zapper, all Zapper stores. So basically anywhere, I mean, Franschhoek, I'm originally from Franschhoek, Turbidor accepts Zapper. I can pay with Bitcoin there. Some spas accept it, but again, not all spas do. But so yeah, you can buy groceries, fuel, airtime, data, and obviously then you have platforms like AirBTC, which is like Airbnb, but for Bitcoiners, where you can receive Bitcoin payments. So if you want to
live on it as well. I mean, if I was renting out my house, I'm sure there's people who want to rent their house out and get Bitcoin for rent. I mean, I would if I was renting my house out to somebody.
Yeah, 100%. It's just, the thing is, it's so exciting. Like I'm so excited about it, like paying, and I share these stories. I get excited when I explain to people, but the fact is, it's still like many people aren't spending. So we always think about ways how to get, and I think it starts with those circular economies, with me and you sharing our stories with people we pay with. And then also maybe businesses, I think, need to come on board, like in terms of letting people know that they accept it, like having Bitcoin accepted signs, because that starts a conversation. Bootlegger, for instance, accepts Bitcoin. And so you can go there, you can pay for breakfast, coffee, whatever. But they don't have signs that say that, but they do accept it. They got a press release on their site. And so, yeah, I mean, if you wanted to, you can live on Bitcoin standard here. So I actually was thinking about doing an experiment for a month where I just do that. But I haven't actually done that yet fully.
We should. I can interview you every day and find out what you spent on, what your spending situation was.
There's also workarounds.
Yeah, that's fascinating.
You can buy Bitcoin. You can buy Woolies vouchers with Bitcoin and then go spend at Woolies, because Woolies, I don't know. Woolies is very backward. Like you can't pay with any QR codes at Woolies. Still, I don't know. We're living in like 2026 in Woolies. I don't know if it's their accounting procedures or anyway. If Woolies is listening, please get like some form of QR code so we can pay with Bitcoin.
Yes, Woolies. I hope
otherwise, the workaround is to go to.
For people who are not from South Africa, Woolies is what we call our kind of, it's a top end grocery store. So it's supposed to be our like fancy grocery store here in South Africa. It's called Woolworths, which is not the Woolworths of the UK, which is actually shit. But yeah, so if you're listening, Woolworths, except Bitcoin. Yeah, that's now, is that compared to like the rest of the world? Is this progressive? I mean, what is the rest of the, do you know, like what?
Yeah, I'd say
It
South
sounds
Africa
very
is,
progressive.
yeah, I'd say South Africa is ahead of the curve, most countries. I mean, even before, so Jack Dorsey, if you launched Twitter, he launched, what is it called? It's called Square or whatever, Square Payments. And they, similar to what Money Badge is doing in the States, you can pay with Bitcoin. They've been doing that at millions of merchants now. But South Africa, like Money Badge has been leading the charge when it comes to Bitcoin payments in South Africa as a whole. I just wish we would get to a point where it's Bitcoin to Bitcoin, like we're accepting it as Bitcoin and paying in Bitcoin. But I guess we're not there yet, right? If you ask the average person on the street what Bitcoin is, lots of people, I've seen documentaries by a guy called Joe Nakamoto.
Oh, yes.
And he goes through this process and he talks about it like, you think it's like big, but it's actually, people don't know about it. So
yeah, that's actually, I saw the Witsand documentary was on
I watched that. Yeah.
Feed. Yeah, fascinating. Go and check him out. He does some interesting interviews if you haven't seen his stuff. I actually watched a great interview yesterday about this art community also that's been kind of, looks exactly like the Karoo. I think it's Redbeard NFT, his feed. Yeah. And he's doing this series on Bitcoin or Bitcoin NFT artists. Not
no, because you're into the ordinals. I don't know anything about that stuff.
Yes, I just know
what an NFT is, but I don't know.
But what I wanted to say is what's interesting is because it's the first time I've seen anything outside of these kind of little circular economies that are building up in South Africa. But it's sort of around art. And the guy who built the Squiggles is a very well-known NFT collection on Ethereum. And they kind of went into this town, looks exactly like a town in the Karoo. And they kind of put this incredible gallery and digital art, but it's like in the absolute Undus, wow. Yeah, very interesting. So it's funny how these off the beaten track places are able, probably because they don't have the infrastructure that needs to be broken down to be built back up again.
Yeah,
and I wonder, I mean, why do you think what the guys at Money Badger, was it just because they were very progressive in their thinking that they thought, okay, let's do it? I mean, because surely that's a lot of negotiation with like Pick and Pay to make sure that they accept it, or all the.
You'd have to speak to Carl. I think you need to get him on your show, the CEO of Money Badger. But
I think he's going to be at Adopting Bitcoin next week, isn't he?
Yeah, he's doing a speech. But I've read before, he doesn't care about, he just wants to push adoption. Like for him, it's I think he has all the connections in the development space. And so that naturally led into Pick and Pay. Like he had the chops to do it. And so he was trusted to do it.
Yeah.
From what I understand, that's how it typically works, right? I mean, he was involved in SnapScan back in the day, and from SnapScan, he even co-founded Luno. So,
really,
yeah, sure. You must get him on your show. I think that's the next guest, someone from Money Badger, maybe even Ben. Ben, if you're listening, go on the show.
Yeah, we'll share it with you. I'm definitely going to see if I can speak to him next week and try and get him on the show because it's fascinating.
There's just so much. And ideology is a big one too. Like you've got this money and then you got the ideology. Like it's a whole. Bitcoin is one of the most fascinating inventions of this era, or if ever. It's amazing.
Yeah. How do you think it's going to stand up? And I mean, this is just me going off track now. How do you think it's going to stand up, or do you have any thought about it with? Like, because a lot of people are talking about it now, like with AI, this kind of idea of Bitcoin and AI. And do you think they sit together in a place? Do you think they serve each other? Like AI as spending Bitcoin. Do you think it's safer to spend Bitcoin or rands? And do you have any?
Well, in a digital world, it seems obvious that we need digital money, right? Decentralized money that's not controlled by someone. So I think AI and Bitcoin in that sense go together. There's also the talk about AI and like quantum computing, or rather quantum computing cracking, the code of hacking, but like, so I mean, that's a whole other conversation. But I think
if quantum computing is going to hack Bitcoin wallets, where there's like 1,000,000 trillion, I was reading somewhere the other day on like how difficult it would be to crack a Bitcoin wallet code. If it's going to do that, can you imagine like
the banking system? I think then we got other issues if that's what we. I don't think we're there yet with that. But again, from a technical standpoint, like I can't speak to that. Just logically tells me if that happens, we have other issues. I've done a bit of reading on it. Like if that happens, we have serious other issues to worry about first, I think. So
so it's very interesting. South Africa, I love the idea that we are kind of, I don't know, in some ways very far ahead of what's going on and what people are spending. Do you speak to a lot of people on the ground about, I mean, you must obviously spending Bitcoin out there. Let's talk a little bit about how, I mean, you mentioned it just now. People are still kind of like a little bit reticent.
Like reactions from people.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, lots of people like
word on the street.
I'll give you an example. So I went to Clicks the other day. So you can pay Clicks too. You can buy your Clicks. They scan to pay merchants. So I went to Clicks the other day and I said, "Hey, can I pay with Bitcoin?" And she looked at me like, "What?" And I normally lead with that because then I can have a conversation if they don't know. And then, at least next time someone comes and asks, then they know, okay, cool, they need to show a QR code. But blank stares, confusion. Some people know, like if you I went to Bootlegger up Kloof Street the other day, and they've been clearly trained. So you say, "Can I pay with Bitcoin?" They immediately show you the code and you pay. So the reaction in that sense is mixed, but I think for the most part, it's generally people looking at you like, what are you talking about?
Has it gotten better over the last year, or is it still the same? I mean, have you seen growth? Like, as you
how would you define growth?
Well, like a little bit less blank stares.
Well, I mean, like I said, there are places that, I mean, if you speak to Bitcoiners, obviously no blank stares, but general people like interacting, like for the most part, like when I'm having interactions, people are surprised. They don't know. Bootlegger seems clued up about it. Engine, again, no clue. Like people have no clue. You explain it to them. So it's a combination of, I guess it's partly because of this integration that happens and lots of people don't know about it. And then like there's no trickle down from the top management who do know about it. So in that sense, the reactions are quite mixed. But again, I can't speak to the actual transaction volumes, but I would say we got a long way to go. So that's at least my experience.
Yeah. Look, I think it's a hell of a good start. If you can think, you said earlier that you could potentially live, even if it's only 3/4 of your spend on Bitcoin. I mean, that's a hell of a start in terms of saying, in terms of the is Bitcoin money narrative. That should in itself start making people feel a little bit more secure. Like, okay,
100%.
It's not just Robux that I can like buy in-game skins on, because a lot of the people I kind of come into contact with almost treat it like it's gaming money,
Magic internet money.
Yeah. So that must be a real stamp of like, because I don't know if I was telling you or somebody else, but if you have a Discovery Bank account.
Yeah, you did mention that to me the other day.
Yeah, it shows, you link up your Luna with it and it actually shows that as your savings.
Oh, wow. I never knew that.
Yeah. So if you open the Discovery Bank app, it counts towards your Discovery, your Vitality or your Discovery savings.
I think when you have more of those integrations, so I think there's an element here of like, we things will take time, but there's also things that people can do to push adoption. So like content creators, like we're having a conversation here about this. This is one aspect of helping grow adoption, right? Adopting Bitcoin Cape Town next week. These are all things that you can actively do. I just would be super excited if a business came on board. Like I think Bootlegger had a perfect opportunity when they started accepting Bitcoin payments to really lean into it. And I don't think they've done that. I think they've done it. And I think they're innovative in the sense that they're one of the few to actually be like, cool, let's do this. they've trained their staff for the most part. But I don't know. I don't feel like they've lent in. Like they don't really have Bitcoin accepted signs at the till. They haven't made a massive announcement about it. But maybe again, the population in South Africa is not as receptive to it yet. So yeah. It's also this catch-22 where you ask merchants to accept it and then they accept it, but then no one comes to spend. And they're like, well, why do I accept it? Because there's no demand. So you got to drive demand on the merchant side and on the customer side at the same time. So
I was chatting to Oken last week. He's also going to be at Adopting Bitcoin Cape Town. And
your interview, your thing, your talk.
Yes, Oken and I are we're going to be talking about art on Bitcoin. We've got like a fireside chat where we're going to be talking. So if you are going to be in Cape Town and you are going to be at Adopting Bitcoin Cape Town and you are interested in art on Bitcoin, please come say hi, come talk to me, and come listen to our talk on Friday. But this to me was like one of those moments where I thought, this is so smart. But he had an event where you bought your ticket in Rand.
Yeah.
And then when you got there, if you downloaded the wallet, you would get a portion of your ticket back in Bitcoin. And I thought that is so smart. Yeah, because it's now I've given my Rand. I've accepted the fact that I'm letting go of that money because I got a ticket for it. I'm not thinking I'm going to get any money back. And when they got there, they were told if they download a wallet, they would get $50 back or whatever.
That's cool. I actually thought about in my talk getting people to download wallets and sending them like $50 Bitcoin or whatever. Anyway,
it's like the Oprah Winfrey show. You get a wallet. You get a wallet. You get a wallet.
No, I just just take it and go spend. Like just go spend. Like I want to see more people. That's another thing. You asked what's it like on the ground. I've had a few occasions. I've been to the same store twice or 3 times or 4 times, and I've had the person say, "Oh, this is the first time we've ever had someone pay with Bitcoin." That's still where we are in some instances. Even though I've been there 4 times, it was that individual person's first experience. So if we can create more first experiences, so I'm trying to I try and encourage people by just interacting, family. Like I'll be like, guys, please download this wallet. If you each download it, I'll send you 100 rands worth of Bitcoin. Like I literally want to give them, and they still don't do it. So I give up with that. So sometimes you can't force it on people. You just got to show your excitement and hope they buy it. If they don't, move on, right? So
yeah, I've done exactly the same thing. It's just like download the wallets and I'll send it to you. I'll show you how fast it is. Nah, it's okay. I'll do it next time. But also another gap is, I mean, you also come from an advertising background, but another gap, I think, is, okay, now you get these cashback points. So if you go to Clicks or a store, and you spend whatever, you get a cashback. So every now and then you can go in and you've got like 17 Rand or 100 Rand or 200 Rand on your card and you can buy things with it. But another way I think that would be cool to drive adoption is to give your cashback in Bitcoin.
Yeah, I think some guys are trying to do that. Like I think in the States, there's places that do this already. But then, I mean, that's
because remember, it used to just be points. You would get points, and then you could go to like e-bucks.
But these are basically what you're touching on as a rewards program, and then also just incentivizing the spending. Like lots of exchanges have been doing like you get 50% back in USDT or whatever. Like they're trying to get people to spend Bitcoin. But it can be a struggle. Like sometimes people just don't want to spend it. Like some people just want to hoard it and keep it and never spend it. Some people are scared of it. Like I said, the tax. There's a hodl culture, like hold on for dear life. Don't spend. You never sell your Bitcoin.
Let's talk about that. Why don't people want to spend Bitcoin?
Well, so if you see something as digital gold that's only going to appreciate in value, you see it as an asset. Why would you sell that thing, right? And then there's like, that doesn't make sense. It's digital gold. You don't sell it. You keep it. You store it. And then also, if you do sell it, you incur like tax. There's also tax implications around it, and so people are just like, well, I'm better off just holding it. There's also the volatility of spending. So, like, imagine this now. So I go to a store. So I buy Bitcoin today. I buy 10,000 rands worth, and then tomorrow the price drops by 30%, right, to 20%. And short term, these swings happen in Bitcoin. Though over time, the volatility has decreased. Now suddenly your Bitcoin is worth a lot less. You bought 10,000 rands worth, tomorrow it's worth 8. So now overnight you have 8 grand, not 10. Short term, this seems like the biggest strategy. Long term, Bitcoin, from what we've seen, it generally does go up. But short term, the volatility, people want to time it. And so the way I see it is, if to overcome that is you need to remove if you have the saving and spending side, you have your store side, your store value side, where you just save it. And then you separate that from your spending side, and you accept that you might take a hit here or there. And I know
but
maybe that's
saving is actually, well, that's the thing, because the part that you're saving is actually long term going to make up for the hits. You were saying just now,
short-term volatility, it can work both ways anyway. So the point is, like, I don't know. For me, if you do it that way, it smooths out the volatility. And over time, if you're thinking too much about that, then perhaps you don't have enough Bitcoin anyway. So you just need to stack more Bitcoin. But if you're treating it, if you're separating it in that way, you're removing your emotion out of it to some degree. And I think that helps with the short-term volatility. It also helps with the tax if you can separate, and you can have a savings account and a spending wallet, like spending Bitcoin. Like I have a spending one and I have a savings one. So then you can also from a tax side, you can separate the two. But I'm waiting for SARS to update their framework because in Australia, if you spend Bitcoin, it's not a taxable event. They don't treat it as a taxable event. And I'm waiting for SARS to wake up and do something similar, because if I'm using it as money, why should I be taxed on it? Like, I'm spending it as a currency.
Yeah.
So
it's very interesting where the accounting and the tax laws are going to, the tax laws are going to go with this. I mean, I know my accountant was sort of talking to me about the other day. He sent me some article about tax, South Africa, crypto. I kind of just looked at it and was like, oh, I don't want to, I'm not looking. Oh, what are you talking about?
If you're doing content, at some point, the guys are going to be like, hey, we know you have, you're doing all these shows.
I know.
I mean, SARS by now knows that I have Bitcoin. So, it's no secret. I don't even have to probably disclose it, right?
Yeah. Look, I think the exciting thing, is that we can have a conversation about this unit of exchange that is in such a discovery mode. I think that's what's so exciting about it, is that we're all sitting here talking about this, and in a moment where it's still being built. We're not saying like, oh, here's my.
It's coming for the monetary. How much is the monetary system in the world? How much is that worth? It's a $200 trillion industry, roughly. I think I came across that somewhere. And Bitcoin is what at the moment as an asset, it's 1.9 trillion. If you believe that Bitcoin at its current price is going to reach gold's market cap, which I think is close to 30 trillion, based on that logic, that puts Bitcoin at a price of $700,000 or whatever. Anyway, the point is, like, for as long as fiat exists, it's if you see that whole monetary system in its entirety, then you realize how early we are with that. I think it's going to start eating. It already has started eating that pie. So we'll see how big it gets.
Yeah. That's the problem. We've all been here for like 5+ years. And so for us, it feels like, and it moves at such a pace that one human year, I always say it's like dog years, because one human year. Oh my God, that's a hard thing to say. Yeah. One human year is like super sped up. It's like a week away from what's going on in the industry, and you feel like it's been a year. So
the industry is changing quickly. Even since I've been in this space, I can tell you when I first got in, Money Badger didn't exist as it existed, but it was called Crypto QR, and they rebranded to Money Badger. So lots have changed in the time.
Yeah. What was I going to say? I was going to say something to you now about. One of the things I was remembering, I said to my girlfriends, I was like, it's like a Tupperware party. You remember back in the day, like girls would get together and they'd like sell makeup or sell Tupperware. You probably won't remember, but it was my mom used to.
I have no clue about that.
Really? Okay, so girls used to get together, and then one lady would come in. My mom used to have these parties, and you'd serve like cheese and wine, and then because girls are great, women talk about things and explain things and what have you. So you would get this woman would come in, and she'd put out all the like Tupperware on the plastic buckies and things on the table, and then you'd have an order form, and I loved it. We used to play around on the thing with all the ladies buying Tupperware, and then you'd have makeup parties where a woman would come, she'd be selling anyway. So I did this with my girlfriends like a while ago. I got them all together, and I was like, okay, we're all going to sit around the table. You're all going to download a wallet, and you're all going to buy some Bitcoin. Or if you're not buying it, I'm going to do it. Okay, so
that's how you do it.
Yeah, but it was so funny. They're sitting there downloading it and showing anyway. So everybody got $100, and then I said to them, okay, now we're going to meet again next month, and we're going to talk about what groceries we got over the course of the month.
Sorry.
Someone walking past.
Yeah, Joey, come.
And it just so happened that in that time, Bitcoin went up. So where I'd given them $100, it turned up to like, by the end of the month, it was like $150, whatever. Well,
that's a bonus.
That was a lucky month. But then you get months where it's like, okay, I bought a loaf of, that's the problem. I bought my loaf of bread for like 20 Rand. And now when I'm eating it, it's actually worth 30 Rand. So what I said to all those moms is, okay, don't spend it. Keep it for a year. So every month.
Zoom out is always the way to look at it.
Yeah, every month. If you're spending 10 grand a month on groceries, rather cut back and put 1,500 Rand of that, 15% into a wallet and leave it for a year. Because by the time because I'm also trying to figure that out, like you are. Like, how do you encourage people? Because we have to spend Bitcoin. If you're not spending it, then we've got a problem. But that's how, and Warren Wheatley actually said it to me. It's, you have to have a then and a now, or a now, a then and a now. So you have to hold it for a certain period, of a year, say, a little bit. And then it doesn't matter spending it, because you're spending money you've made.
I think you have to go through that process. I think we need to accept that people go through process of learning. Like, you don't just jump. Like, if I started learning about Bitcoin today, I probably wouldn't have learned about it by learning about it as money. Maybe I would have. Maybe I would have had some person who came and taught me and said, look, this is like, have those people who can lead by example and show you. But often people enter the space by seeing it as a store of value. And so, like, I did that for 7 years. Like, for 7 years, I didn't really treat it as money. I just kind of saw it as this thing, number go up, and so there's lots to it. I think it'll take time, but I think there's things that all of us can do to make like a difference in, like just you said, like the point, like something as small as that can make a difference. Like,
so if you want to sponsor me, Pick and Pay, I can start these girl circles because if you think about it, I know it sounds very sexist, but it's generally the moms that are doing the grocery shopping. I hate saying that, but in my circle of friends, it is us. We go and we do.
Maybe generational, like I don't know.
Yeah, what are we different generations? No, but it is. I mean, also I've got kids. When you've got kids and a home that you're running, it's generally so that's why I find it interesting, because I talk to moms who buy groceries specifically around the Pick and Pay thing, and I say to them, look, this is how you can spend it. Have some fun, but just do it with a little bit of your money, and it's sort of, because that's another thing, is you have to kind of almost make it fun, and you have to say to people, don't put 20,000 Rand in a Luna wallet this month and then try and spend it.
Don't be stupid about it, but in an ideal world, you want to show them like a Lynn Alden video or whatever, where she talks about how the fiat system screwed, and be like, look, this is. But I don't think you start with that, because people are like, this feels a bit sort of too much. So
that's why it's got to be fun, with have a glass of wine and send some Bitcoin over. But anyway.
But I sent my girlfriend some Bitcoin. She actually bought her adopting Bitcoin Cape Town ticket with it. Because
nice. Okay, well, see, there you go. So if you do know a friend who doesn't have any Bitcoin, again, this is not financial advice, but if you do know a friend, let them download a wallet, encourage them to download a wallet and send them, even for their birthday. That's what I do with my son. And there's another thing is he's an artist, and so for his friends' birthdays, I phone the moms and I tell them to download a wallet for their kids on their phone, and he sends them an NFT for their birthday.
Oh wow!
So yeah, so they've all got these kids. I hear them sometimes talking about it. It's just another fun way. I think, to me, you said something earlier about kind of the seriousness of people who, maybe coming across strongly like this is an important event. And obviously it's important. That's why we're sitting here talking about it. It's one of the most important events of our time, of the century,
Yeah.
But I think by making it fun, and that's why I was talking about these silly parties with girlfriends and telling each other what we got, what groceries we got and how much we paid for a loaf of bread. Was it 20 Rand or 50 Rand? Or sending somebody an NFT for their birthday. It doesn't have to be serious. It's just a way to get people to play with this without thinking of it as...
I would put, instead of putting money in a TFSA, obviously, how TFSA works. For those who don't, like, you have 36,000 Rand a year, and there's a cap of, is it 500,000? And once you put in 500,000, you can't put any more in, but any gains is tax-free. I would honestly, instead of doing that, not financial advice, I would put, if I just had a kid that was born, I would start putting money in to Bitcoin instead of a TFSA.
Yeah.
Anyway, not financial advice. Please don't, that's what I would do. That's what I would do.
Yeah. That's what we do now. It seems ludicrous we started off with a regular, Alan Gray. Sorry, Alan. With an Alan Gray account. And eventually it just seemed like such a weird thing to be doing. And my dad actually said to me, it was bizarre, long time ago, 30 years ago, when I took out I was at varsity, and I took out my first retirement annuity. No. And my dad actually said to me, "You're making a mistake. Rather invest. If you do anything else, but don't do that, because you'll find they will, at some point, you will be effed by it,
Yeah, I've put money in there.
Exactly what's happening to me. My first one is, we spoke about this the other day, didn't we? My first one is maturing next year, and it's like it's so involved in, and you actually have to buy another one. It's ridiculous.
Look, obviously there's deferred tax advantages. You are going to pay tax on it. You just won't pay. It reduces your taxable income today.
Yeah.
People forget that you are eventually going to pay tax. But it also obviously locks you in. So let's say you have an event where you actually want access to the money, you don't have access to it. I would argue that it is a great tool, obviously, because it encourages saving. But there are better tools to save now. So I also have money in an RA, which I can't really, it is what it is, right? So I've been, maybe those would change, but I don't know. I wouldn't,
So that's the thing. We're here just talking about, I think we've been over an hour now, and we should be winding up, but I think very, very important conversation, and something I'm really interested in as well is, how do you encourage people to spend Bitcoin, and how do we spread that message out there to talk to people about who accepts it and where you can spend it and how you can spend it and what that means. And Nick I've been chatting to Nick from BitcoinFriendlySA, and he that is his work that he does. He's a writer, and he is out there spreading the gospel about spending your Bitcoin. Where can people find you, Nick?
You can hold it too. You don't have to just spend it, just so we're clear.
Yes, you must, obviously. Yes, you must.
I'm saying the two can coexist. That's the whole point. I think they are mutually exclusive. You can find me on Twitter, and then I also write in Substack, but mainly I'd say Twitter and Substack.
Okay, so what are your? So
it's just at Nick Darlington for Twitter, and then in my bio there's also a link to Bitcoin Friendly SA. I couldn't do the full Bitcoin Friendly because someone had taken that, so I had to do like a FRNLDY weird thing, but it's in my bio.
Okay.
And Substack is also in there somewhere in there.
Yeah. Yeah, so give Nick a follow, and I mean, any feedback as well for both of us, because I want to really keep these conversations going. So if you've got any thoughts as well as to how Nick and I, we're both in South Africa, we're both passionate about spreading the word about Bitcoin. So if you do have any thoughts or ideas that you want to share with us, like Nick said, he shared his X, and I'm sure his DMs are open for things like that, and so are mine. So yeah, let's keep this conversation going. Nick, is there any sort of final words that you want to leave us with? Great words of Nick wisdom.
Great words of wisdom. Yeah, I think just if you think Bitcoin is money, spend it. Like, yeah, I encourage you to just go out there and even if you just buy a coffee, try it. It's and if you're not sure how to get hold of Bitcoin, you can reach out to me. That's also another thing. Sorry, that people struggle with, is knowing how to get hold of it. But yeah, you can spend it and you can save it. The two don't have to be mutually exclusive. That's what I'd say is the core, is they can coexist, those two. You don't have to all be hodlers out there.
That's actually an interesting thing you said. How do I get Bitcoin? Before we go,
Many ways.
Yeah, I mean, because that is something, you're very right there. That is something that I find people are scared of. They're scared of, where do I, am I going to get scammed just getting it?
Yeah, I think so. I think most people realistically would get it through an exchange. Obviously, that has its downfalls, KYC and all that, but that is how most people would probably get it. Deposit money in there, and you buy some and you just keep it. And then long term, I think in an ideal world, you accept it as a business and you get paid in it. And then when you start spending it and those businesses accept it, then that's a kind of circular economy thing. And there are obviously other ways like P2P or whatever. But yeah, I think an exchange I think that's one thing that needs to be worked on. Lots of these wallets where you can buy, maybe it exists already, maybe I just haven't tested it, where you can buy directly in your wallet with your rands, like your Bitcoin spending wallet. That will speed up the curve.
Can't you do that with Luna? With Luna, I'm just trying to think how.
Yeah, so look, Luna. So look here, Luna. Luna has a scan to pay feature.
You can transfer from you can link your bank account, and you can transfer directly from your bank account into Luna wallet, like EFT, and then you can purchase the Bitcoin inside your wallet, because that's what I've actually got. I just forgot about it. It's a debit order that goes in. And every Monday, it's actually got a service where it can dollar cost average in. So for me, every now and then on a Monday, I see a thing come up on my phone that says, you just bought Bitcoin. Because I advise.
But I was thinking more like, so the thing with Luna is when so you can buy it there, obviously, and you can technically use their scan to pay feature. But when you're using like a Lightning wallet,
right.
You're paying directly from your Bitcoin balance, which effectively you're like a bank account. But when you're paying via Luna, it's kind of like it's not.
So you would have to send it from your Luna to your.
Yeah. So it's like. Yeah, I think by using a Lightning wallet, you're really taking advantage of the power of Bitcoin. That's kind of in essence what it boils down to, the decentralized nature of it versus, say, just using it via an exchange. But look, everyone accesses the space differently, and I don't want to discourage people from accessing the space just because I think that's not that's how I still often sometimes buy my Bitcoin. So there are many different ways to go about it. So those are just some of them, I think.
Yeah. And if people want to find out if we've got sort of retailers or sellers listening, and they're thinking to themselves, okay, hang on a minute, I don't have to pay so much in transaction fees, I'd like to accept Bitcoin, where do they go?
If they want to learn how to accept it.
Yeah.
Well, I've actually got a guide on my site that I wrote. It's actually on the homepage.
Okay.
If you want to learn. So there's a few ways you can go about doing it, right? It's you can either just do it directly by using something like Blink. So Blink is a Lightning wallet, but they also offer POS features. So you can technically then just print out a QR code, display it at the point of sale. There's a little link. You can copy a payment link and you can put it on a tablet. So that's one way to do it. There's also Bitcoin Pay Server. I know Thunder Brothers does it in that way. Thunder Brothers Car Wash. And then if you want to go sort of, which is less direct, you if you're a Scan to Pay or Zapper merchant, you sign up with them if you aren't already. And then you can technically accept Bitcoin, even though technically you're receiving rands, but people can pay with Bitcoin.
Yeah.
And Money Badger. And Money Badger.
Beautifully as a peer-to-peer.
Yeah. So that's the thing.
If you are a seller, it's as easy as that. You basically need a wallet, a Blink wallet, if you really want to simplify it down to its absolute simplest.
100%. Guys like Money Badger can help you with that, because like GWiz and all those places, they use Money Badger. I don't know if GWiz is another one. Bob Shop, all the online stores. You can Lighting Warehouse, all those places. You can pay with Bitcoin. Peach Payments. So Money Badger is a payment gateway that can help you with accepting Bitcoin. Like I said, there's an article on my site, on the main website, that you can read about it as well if you want to learn about it. So it's not that hard. It's not technical. And you can always just contact me directly as well if you want to know.
Yeah, there you have it. It's as easy as that. Contact Nick. That's the answer to all questions.
I mean, I don't just a sales pitch, but that's actually what I want to move in towards, is becoming like a marketing consultant for Bitcoin. It's kind of, I'm in the process of doing that, where I essentially help businesses accept and market Bitcoin. That's kind of where I'm headed.
Yeah.
It would be great to test it out with a merchant. So anyone who's interested, you're welcome to reach out to me and we can test it out with you as a case study and write about it on my site. That's another thing. If you want to be featured on the site, reach out. Like, I want to do merchant features of people who've accepted it, highlight them, and help spread awareness of it. Yeah. So it's like content. It's exciting for me to learn about what people are doing and maybe help drive sales for businesses. So.
Yeah, that's brilliant. I mean, I think, this is an incredible job, and I think it's a job that more and more people, people on the ground, I think we had this conversation as well, just normalizing it.
But that's a big one, normalizing the spending around it. Like, you can buy groceries with it, you can buy your fuel with it. Once people see that, then it's
you can have your car washed with it, by what you said just now.
I go to Thunder Brothers all the time, and I've had a few issues with payment recently, but because they had an issue with a server or whatever. But you can pay with anything. I mean, they have locations all across the country. Bree Street, Waterfront, Pretoria, I think, all over the country you can pay. So you don't need to actually use rands to get your car washed.
I definitely want to see you living for, I'm going to challenge you to 3 months.
I think I could do it quite easily. I already know how to
using Bitcoin.
The only thing I can't, there's a few things I'd struggle with, like municipal rates.
Okay.
But groceries, car washes, I do, just general day-to-day living. It'd
still be interesting. I think that's a great challenge. I would love to be challenged to do that.
I could write a whole long thing about it. I could do a video about it, but I like writing. Like, I like living it and maybe sharing some videos and then writing about it. That's actually a great idea. I need to do that.
Yeah.
For a month or 2.
3. I'm challenging you to 3 months. You're allowed to pay your rent and your rates, but nothing else.
My mortgage, my rates, what else?
And
I can pay, unless I reach out to City of Cape Town and ask them if they accept Bitcoin. We should reach out to I only recently discovered it's Jordan Hill Lewis, not Gordon. Did you know that? I never realized his name was Jordan, not Gordon. Anyway.
I don't follow politics or the news.
No, I don't either. But anyway, reach out to him and ask him so the municipality can accept Bitcoin. I pay my rates and taxes. And thank you very much.
Well, that could be part of your 3-month Bitcoin sabbatical, Bitcoin spending spree. There was a case, a friend of mine owns an ad agency, and they were, I can't remember who the client was, but they kind of wanted to show it had something to do with how much you spend when you're not spending actual cash. So, or how much I can't remember what the exact, you might remember it as I say it, but what it was is the guy got he got his salary in like 1 rand coins, or I don't know if you remember that. And it was just like, pile that filled half his living room and then he had to spend everything with these coins.
Oh, no,
and yeah, but it showed, what was interesting about it was it just showed how much or how little with all that pile that where it went.
Right.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So it would be this, like, there was a huge pile, and then after his rent, it was like this little pile, and then
But I would
his
think
rent.
you'd be more intentional with your spending because you're holding a money, like, cool, I got this
Yes.
cash. It's
But
not like
that's
this.
why it became so scary, is because
Yeah.
it was like, okay, you know, when you swipe your credit card, and that's another thing why I think spending Bitcoin is actually really good, because it makes you so conscious about, you know, and I do it when I go to Pick and Pay. If I'm spending my credit card, I'll just be throwing anything in, Lindt chocolates, and, you
No,
know,
the world's built on
and
credit. The whole
if
system
I go with my Bitcoin, I'm literally like, no, I'll just have this one small thing, because you suddenly become very conscious. So in a way, it's a very good thing, because you're very conscious about what you're spending, you know.
100%. Have you used those Bitcoin ATMs? I've never used one, but there's one in Stellenbosch. You can literally just go give cash and it gives you Bitcoin.
Yeah,
It's interesting. Obviously not physical,
yeah.
but
Yeah, I've seen it, but I haven't
used it. Yeah.
No, there was one. I remember where the first one was in. I can't remember the mall's name now. Anyway, yeah. So it was so lovely to chat to you. Thank you very much for joining me. I do appreciate it. I look forward to seeing you next week at Adopting Bitcoin Cape Town. Yeah.
Thanks a lot for having me. Look forward to seeing you next week. And yeah, I believe there's other events in that week too. So if anyone's listening, I guess we follow Adopting Bitcoin Cape Town to learn about. This isn't a promotion for Adopting Bitcoin Cape Town, by the way. We just are going. So
yeah,
we should actually share it with him. Also, he can share it. He can share the talk.
Yeah. Cool. No, we're excited about it. I think it's going to be really good. It's what we're talking about. I think that's why it's so relevant. That's
what the whole conference is about. Is about pushing it as money. I mean, that's what it's about.
Yeah. So let's see. I am going to give you feedback about it next week. Maybe Nick and I will have another chat. Maybe invite Okan on as well. And
you should invite Carl. You have to invite Money Badger guys, and you have to invite Circular Economy. You have to invite Herman. Yeah, I guess you could actually, when you're at Adopting Bitcoin Cape Town, just have a list and just get people to. There's your.
Yeah. How to get them? I'm going to go around with my Calendly invite thing and just be like, dun, 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 dun. I'm definitely going
to do that. People are very receptive. I would imagine would be quite receptive because they're chatty. Everyone's there, happy, whatever. It's a good idea.
Yeah.
And cool. Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, thank you too. And everyone watching, thank you very much for joining us. This has been Bitcoin and Beyond. I'm Melanie Carstens chatting to Nick Darlington. We've been talking about Bitcoin adoption on the ground in South Africa. And I hope you have a beautiful week. I am back next week, Thursday, 11 a.m. Eastern. And I am talking actually to Danny from On-Chain Monkeys. So hopefully see you there. Thanks a million. Take care, Nick. Bye.
Cheers. Bye.